Hi, this is John Murphy, and this is Comic Picks by the Glick. Here's your host, Jason Glick.
Yes, and here I am. And this week, instead of just like me randomly picking 3 series to talk about, I'm just going to talk about like a particular theme this week. And this theme is just like what I call the spectrum of good comics.
Series that kick ass.
Technically, yeah. I mean, it's like, ideally, yeah. But you see, there's all kinds of good comics. I mean, there's comics like, you can show to everyone that everyone can enjoy. And there's the kind of comics that you read and enjoy, but really have no real value beyond just being entertaining. And then you've got the kind of comics that are good for you. Like they're good, like they're like art, You watch it, you enrich yourself, but generally this is feeling like, it's like they're not entirely enjoyable themselves. Like, yeah, you might feel be a better person after reading this, but you're kind of like, they kind of come off as medicine sometimes.
Well, what's our first dose of medicine today?
Okay. Well, I wouldn't fortunately this is the case, like after reading, I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to call it medicine, but after describing it, let me tell you what I think. Basically, this is, what I've got here is the Complete Persepolis. It's
This is everything in one volume, Persepolis.
Yes, it's it was originally 2 volumes, and they combined it to one. After the movie came out, the animated movie came out late last year, was nominated for an Academy Award.
Sweet.
Okay, this is written and illustrated by Marjane Satrapi, and it's basically her autobiographical story of growing up in Iran. Now she came of age at a time during the time the Islamic Revolution was going on. And so you get to see her as a young kid, like seeing the revolution through the eyes of a young kid.
So the Islamic Revolution that happened
in Iran, and
like in the 60s or
something? Late 70s.
Late 70s, okay.
Basically when the fundamentalists took control.
Gotcha. The whole Ayatollah Khomeini thing.
Yes.
Already, gotcha.
Yeah, and you get to see her growing up in this time of warfare. Like after Iraq attacks, like she's sent off to sent out to Europe and Austria, okay. And she winds up growing up there later on, and then eventually coming back to Iran and find out that basically after she tries growing up there even more, like going to school, getting married, and then eventually finding out that it's not that life under the rule there just isn't for her. Then she decided to leave the country for good.
So this is more like a historical fiction than...
No, not fiction at all, actually. It's basically autobiography.
Oh, okay.
She's telling her life story here.
Did you mention that before and I just missed it?
I think I did, but
okay.
That'll probably come out once we listen to it again.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically it's like, I've been put off reading this for years because I've heard about this series. At first it was good. The idea of a young woman's life struggle growing up under the fundamentalist rulers of Iran, just kind of this is probably going to be good for me. But it sounds like medicine, so that I'm gonna look and say, oh, it's great. But so I'm gonna read this once, saying, this is good, and gonna put it on my shelf, never bother with it again. I actually decided to give it a chance once I started hearing about the movie, and I heard that basically it's actually somewhat more lighthearted than you'd think, because she's a very idiosyncratic. She has a very idiosyncratic personality. As a kid, she was talking about how her constant conversations with God and how she was going to become a prophet. It's really, those parts are really cute. And then you get to hear about her growing up going to high school outside in Austria, and then how she became the school's drug dealer for a period of time. And you realize this is kind of funny. I mean, it's like she's a very, very free-spirited, resourceful person, and you can see that how once she goes back to Iran later in her life, that why she eventually decides to leave it again.
Now, did you see the movie?
I didn't see the movie yet.
But how do most people compare it to the movie?
Well,
because this came out before it, is that correct?
Oh, yeah. The thing is, Marjane Satrapi actually co-directed the movie version.
Aha.
Yeah, so I'm imagining that, even though I can't imagine they managed to cram the entire book into the movie, it follows it very, very closely. And like I said, it's very good, but I think the book's greatest achievement is a great job of humanizing the inhabitants of Iran, because you hear with all the fact that the nation's been in the news lately, you kind of you figure no, we don't want to attack them because it's ideologically wrong. But then you read this and you realize that it's they're not all crazy fundamentalists. People want to see us. I mean, they're really not all that different from us. They're only different.
They're actually human. They have a human face.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible for me to say this that. That's kind of that I didn't really think that way before reading this. But looking at this, I'm realized it's It's like they're really they're really not all that different from us in terms of mentality, what they like, and just how they want to live their lives.
Right, kind of like I think during the Cold War. Well, when I was a kid, there was still the USSR was the enemy. It's like, oh yeah, all Russians are the enemy, But then you start hearing stories, and it's like, oh, maybe they're not, So
Yeah.
maybe they're just human beings, and they're just under a totalitarian rule.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you wind up finding out, I think.
Yeah, so looking at this, I just realized like how much similar like all people the inhabitants of Iran are like to the rest of us. And yeah, it's like you're probably thinking it's like, well, good job, Jason. I'm glad you're finally come to this realization about 5 or 10 years like after the rest of the world has realized this. But hey, it's like if this book is what it did for me, it's like it's automatically required reading for anyone who still thinks we should probably go to war with them and just like fight and like burn out the country in order to bring democracy to them.
Yeah, I think that at the very least it puts a human face to it, and you're able to understand their perspective on how they live their life and everything else.
Exactly. Okay, there's nothing really bad about the story itself, but it's like it's an autobiography, so it's like it sort of kind of like rambles like for a while. I mean, it's like goes at its own pace, and just like not everything is fully explained, so like some people might have issues with that. And the art, like I said, it's not very detailed at all, but it's full of character, and she does a great job of like getting the story across.
Is it a color volume?
Oh no, it's black and white.
Okay, black and white.
Yeah,
and
so yeah, if you got issues with that, well, I don't know what to say, but still, it's like it's not. I didn't find it detracted at all from the experience.
Yeah, well, you read plenty of manga, and most manga is black and white, so
that's true.
So. Cool. So what you got up next?
Yeah, next, well, we're going way to the other end of the spectrum, which is something that basically has the comics nutritional equivalent of eating a dinner of nothing but consisting of nothing but Snickers bars.
Snickers bars.
I speak, of course, of Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe. Okay, now I could probably go on like for an entire podcast about the origins of the characters behind it and the series itself. But let me just say that Deadpool is basically a mercenary who basically went through the same Weapon X program that Wolverine went through in order to cure his cancer. It didn't quite work. It's like even though he's got a healing factor, it basically like ruined his good looks and also caused him to go insane as well.
Ew.
So he's just described as the mercenary with the mouth, and because basically his insanity allows him to be like colorful, like comment colorfully on all sorts of things that happen outside of the fourth wall in his comics as well. Now, Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe basically collects the last 8 issues of the Cable and Deadpool series. The reason it's called Deadpool versus Marvel Universe is because, well, Marvel decided that, hey, we wanted to give Cable his own series again. So they went and killed him in the Merry Marvel manner, and Deadpool was left to finish out the last 8 issues of their series by himself. This means that instead of like teaming up with Cable, now he's teaming with all sorts of other characters from the Marvel Universe. So you basically have 8 issues of team-up stories with Wolverine, the Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, Brother Voodoo, Kazar, and a host of other Merry Marvel characters. And I'm really not going to argue that this series comes anywhere approaching the level of art in any sense of the word. It is still quite entertaining thanks to Deadpool's like constant witty observations, courtesy of writer Fabian Nicieza, and artists Riley Brown and Ron Lim's fairly entertaining art that does a good job of conveying the story and has some great comic moments as well. The series really only falters in the Doctor Strange and Brother Voodoo team-up issues, where you get also the mystical gobbledygook that tends to come hand in hand with all these Marvel characters, where they talk about, oh, I'm going to visit the seventh of the hoary hosts of Hoggoth and stuff like that, and you're just wondering, like, well, okay, you're saying all this crazy stuff because like make it sound more important, and like that's just really annoying. But the series also really shines in the last 2 issues when writer Fabian Nicieza turns the plotting over to artist Riley Brown, and like you get some really great action series where Deadpool teams up with Kazar to fight a whole bunch of dinosaurs in the Savage Land, and then after he fights these dinosaurs, he actually winds up sending them to the Genosian embassy in New York, right after the Mighty Avengers have fought an outbreak of the Venom symbiote virus that has basically like turned a whole bunch of people like Venom symbiotes, like Spider-Man's arch enemy.
Right.
And actually, like once the dinosaurs show up, they get infected with the symbiote as well. So you got a bunch of like venom dinosaur symbiotes fighting New York.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's completely and utterly ridiculous, but there's lots of great comic moments here, and it does a really good job of like providing closure to this series after 50 issues. Like, I mean, it's a little on the expensive side at $25. But hey, it's like if you're a fan of Deadpool, it's really a no-brainer. Like you want to have this in collection, and if you like good like Marvel humor superhero comics, I definitely recommend it on that level as well.
Okay, so that's our Snicker bars lunch.
Yes. Yeah, it's like no nutritional value at all, but still, damn if it isn't tasty.
That's it.
Okay, now as far as the spectrum goes, I've gone from the art style to the junk food style. Right in the middle is the stuff that is going to appeal to everyone. Well, in this case, I probably should have brought something that would appeal to everyone. Instead, you're probably going to want to, if you have strong religious convictions, particularly if you're a Christian, you're probably going to want to steer well clear of this. Everyone else is probably going to think this is the most awesome thing ever. I speak, of course, of Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon's Preacher. Hands down, one of the greatest comic books I have ever read. And it's also one of the series that whenever I have friends who say, comic books suck, I say, hey, you know what? Go read this. Then tell me what you think. Invariably, they come and say, dude, this actually was pretty good, man. Yeah. Okay, because Preacher, it's a story of Texas preacher Jesse Custer, who one day finds himself bonded to the angelic demonic force known as Genesis. This gives him the power known as the Word of God, which allows him to say, like, anything he says, you have to obey. And so after getting this power, he winds up hooking up with his ex-girlfriend and an Irish vampire named Cassidy to go on a nice road trip looking for God. Why are they looking for God, you ask? That's because God has abandoned his post in heaven and is now wandering the earth. And so once Jesse hears about this, he's like, hey, you know what? God's an asshole. We're going to go find him, make him answer for what he's done.
Personal vengeance, huh?
Yes.
Lord.
Yes, and this takes him on a wild tour throughout most of the America and also other parts of the world. Just like in doing all sorts of crazy things. You get to find out, and like the genius about the series is that it could have easily come off as exploitative shock value, if not for the fact that Ennis and Dillon really do an admirable job of topping themselves with every single issue. I mean, it's like you just think that once you see like Jesse's family, like the crazy I'm gonna make a man out of you character of his Uncle Jody, the really scary dried up soul and looks of his grandmommery, and the I'm gonna have sex with anything that moves mentality of his Uncle TC. You see that and you think, man, this really can't get any worse, But he does. He brings out even crazier stuff, like the inbred descendant of Jesus Christ, cannibals who make his arch nemesis wipe their own ass, and the saint of killers, the force awoken by the angels in order to take out Jesse Custer and separate him from the Genesis force himself. Really, like it's I can't say that on one hand it's like it does a good job of like straddling the line between it's like exploitation that like just it's stuff that just avoids exploitation through its ideas, or just art that actually has a lot of like dick jokes in it as well. But still, it's like it's one of those series that like you once you start reading it, you got to go, man, I got to keep reading this. I got to know what happens next. Like it just keeps getting better and better. And it's like, also it's like, well, Ennis' script has lots of great, memorable, witty one-liners. Dillon's art is like really some of the best you'll see in a Vertigo title because DC Vertigo, that's the imprint that publishes. Right. Because Steve Dillon, he's not good on the whole fantasy aspect of stuff. He's really very expressive artist. Like his characters, like you can see the emotions in their faces better than just about any other artist in the business. And really, it's 9 volumes long, and in all honesty, unless you're like devout Christian who like really has deep issues with someone taking issue with your God and like tweaking his tweaking his benevolence or his his motives, then you're gonna want to have this in your library, no question at all.
Gotcha. So that's like 3. You said it was 9 volumes.
Yes, it's 9 volumes. I have 3 right here because if Brian, our tech guy, was here. I'd give him. He wanted to borrow this.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Yeah.
cool. So that's right in the middle.
Yeah, that's right in the middle. It's like I said, it's something you want to. So you will want to have in your library no matter what.
Gotcha. So with that, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it for now. And it's like, hey, come back next week for another themed podcast.
All right. Later.